For the next year, I'm gonna train as perfectly as humanly possible.
Pointless. Pointless. Pointless.
First up, we use this DEXA machine to measure our starting body fat percentage.
Anything done with this, you can just throw it out. It's absolutely useless. Coach Greg, and I'm really excited to watch this video. Jeff Nippard and his brother are gonna find out how much muscle could they put on in just one single year.
No skipped workouts, no lazy sets, no exceptions.
And so if you remember me being critical in the past, I was saying that Jeff Nippard wasn't training very hard. He was leaving too many reps in the tank. And so Jeff Nippard, perhaps after years of me encouraging him, he's decided to train to failure. He's gonna push his limits, and even after 15 years of training, could in fact continue to put on muscle while being, as he always has been, 100% natural.
You build most of your muscle in your first few years of lifting. Then it slows down. And there's a theory out there that once you've been training for 5 or maybe 10 years, you've built all the muscle you can build.
We call it your natural genetic limit. I've been saying for years, Jeff Nippard, he isn't close because he's not training as hard as he actually could. And his brother, he's got newbie gains. And remember, these guys have amazing genetics. You might not think that they do because Jeff Nippard isn't all that tall, but Jeff Nippard's actually elite level bodybuilder and powerlifter. His brother obviously has similar genetics to him. They have the same parents. We're going to find out, what can a year of solid training your ass off harder than last time actually do to your gains?
And once you hit your natural ceiling, you have a decision to make. You can either maintain what you've built, saying goodbye to any new gains, or you can take anabolic steroids.
Jeff, you said you can either take steroids or you can just keep what you got. You could also add in Turk Builder as well as GO2 Max. Now, I hate to be the one to have to break it to you. No, I actually love it. This shit works. It's amazing. And if you don't believe that it works, there's a money-back guarantee and a $20 gift card. And so imagine how much more muscle, that's right, more muscle Jeff would have put on if he would have been using Turk Max for an entire year. And so perhaps Jeff could run another experiment. Do the experiment again while using Turk Builder Max and see for yourself. Why are tens of thousands of people continuing to rebuy it? Oh, it's the placebo effect. You guys are crazy. You'll buy creatine and grows despite the fact that Turk Builder Max is way, way better. And so if you're interested, code Greg, 15% off, probably sold out. And so go to the website, become a VIP, get a text message, and then you can buy it before everyone else does. It's always sold out.
To set the standard high, I'm gonna take an ambitious guess at how much muscle I'll gain this year.
I'm gonna guess that Jeff is gonna gain 3. 4 pounds, it is in fact a lot. Remember, if you could gain 4 pounds a year for 10 years, it's 40 pounds. Jeff, I'm going to guess he gains 3, and his brother, I'm going to guess he gains 12.
I'm gonna guess that I will gain 4 pounds of muscle. I think Brad will gain double that, 8 or 9 pounds of muscle.
Jeff, do you have no faith in your brother? Literally, newbie gains. An entire year of training with you as his coach. And you only think he's going to put on 9 pounds in an entire year? I was thinking he was going to guess 20. I mean, how many out there would expect to gain only 9 pounds in an entire year if you were being coached by Jeff Nippard himself? He has newbie gains. And so to gain anything less than 10 pounds, I'd be disappointed.
So with my own research team as my biggest haters, we got our starting measurements done. 5'4", 0.7?
0.7, yes, sir. If you can figure out
Take that, internet.
All the haters, Jeff is 5'4.7". That's 5'4" and 3/4. I am 5'6". I read it all the time. Coach Greg's lying about his height. He's exaggerating so. I don't lie. I tell it like it is. I'm a frigging commander, a 1.8%er. Why would I lie about my height? I'm very factual, very honest. I tell you like it is.
First up, we use this DEXA machine to measure our starting body fat percentage and lean mass.
So what did you predict you were at?
I think I said 14.6.
6.
It said that I was 15.8% body fat. That was a bit higher than I expected.
Honestly, I would have said Jeff was at least 15% body fat, likely a little bit more. It came up to 15.8% body fat. And so I'd say it's a pretty good guess.
It also said I had 132.7 pounds of lean mass.
The DEXA scan is not the golden standard for testing body fat. It's actually the MRI, followed second by my laser eyes. Many people, they laugh. Oh, Coach Greg thinks he's good at guessing body fat. I'm better than a DEXA scan. Do you really think the DEXA scan is so accurate? It easily could be off by 15%. And why? Water weight. I could easily fool the exam, and that's the video I should be making. I go to the DEXA scan and prove that I can put on 10 pounds of muscle in one single day. Oh, it's impossible. Do you know how easy it is to fool the DEXA scan? But do you know what's very hard to fool? Coach Craig's freaking laser eyes.
We did thickness measurements for our biceps and quads.
And so Jeff's brother, upon my laser eyes, he's about 35%. You're thinking, no, he's 25%. This is 35% body fat. The DEXA scan is saying 36. And so remember, he's obese. This is very much overweight. And so if I were coaching Jeff's brother, the first thing I'd be doing is I'd be putting him in a calorie deficit. I believe in 1 year of coaching Jeff's brother, could have had him drop his body fat to somewhere between 15 and 20% body fat while adding on a minimum of 10 pounds of muscle. Lose fat and build muscle at the same time. Now, normally I preach the main gain, but when you're obese, I think it's much better to reduce your calories, slowly lose body fat, and once you get to that ideal range for you, perhaps it's 15%, maybe even as high as 20, and at that point, you main gain.
First, I'm taking the last set of every single exercise to failure. No exceptions. Even on heavy compound lifts like presses and squats, I'm pushing that last set until I physically cannot get the weight up and literally drop it.
And remember, beginners, you don't have to train to failure, but as you move into intermediate and advanced like Jeff Nippard, you have to push yourself. The body requires a stimulus for muscle growth to occur. And so if you're leaving 1 to 3 reps in reserve, as is often preached by many science-based lifters, you're not going to grow maximally. When you're advanced, you need to train hard.
And before we knew it, it was time for our first check-in.
Moment of truth. I'm a little nervous. Are you?
No. What am I nervous about?
So this was shocking. After just 1 month of training, Brad is already up 12.7 pounds of lean mass.
Exhibit A DEXA scan, it's not accurate. It says in 1 month, Jeff's brother, he put on 12 pounds of muscle. In 1 month. He wasn't on Turk Builder. He wasn't on steroids. Bro was only taking creatine. 12 pounds of lean tissue in a month. How many believe that that's possible to put on 12 pounds in a month? I predict he's going to put on 12 pounds an entire year. 1 month, he's up 12. How much is he going to put on by the end of the year? 50 pounds? Is he going to make an even greater transformation than even Hussein Farhad, who put on close to 40 pounds in 3 years? 12 pounds in a month. This is not possible. And so already I'm questioning the results.
His body fat percentage dropped from 36.2% down to 33.4%. And the ultrasound showed he gained 14 millimeters on his quads and 1 millimeter on his biceps. That's in 1 month.
Bruh.
He put on 12.7 pounds of muscle in a month while dropping his body fat by 2.8%. And so he literally put on 3 times more muscle than the fat that he lost. And so how is this possible? Remember, some people don't even think you can build muscle and lose fat at the same time. He built muscle and lost fat at the same time. 12 pounds of muscle while dropping close to 3% body fat. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen in a month. If you had said he did it with steroids, I would still be thinking, really? Is it possible to make this much improvement in only 1 month, even with steroids? But yet, here he is doing it natural.
Believe it or not, I'm also up just over 3 pounds of lean mass.
And Jeff, he put on 3 pounds of muscle in a month. I said I put 4 pounds of muscle in a month, and y'all called me a liar. Coach Greg is lying. He just wants to sell his supplements. I wasn't lying. I literally reported the data. I watched the scale go up 4 pounds, and I didn't gain any body fat. Do you not think that I know my body? When I look in the mirror, I can tell if it's fat and or water. But yet Jeff can gain 3 pounds of muscle in a month, and his brother can gain over 12, all while being natural, and I do believe they're natural, and you guys don't question any of this? My personal opinion, this is proof that the DEXA scan it doesn't work.
And in 5 months, we'll finish our bulking phase and do another check-in. People say that bulking is pointless because you just get fat.
Hold it right here. Why are we bulking? Jeff's starting weight is over 15%. His brother is over 35%. Why are we bulking? Bulking doesn't benefit you when you've already bulked. Jeff's brother, I'm not trying to make fun of him. He's already bulked. He's 35% plus. If you're 35% plus and your coach puts you in a calorie surplus, unless you're a sumo wrestler, fire your coach. I have all kinds of respect for Jeff, but this is not worth it. When you have a family member who's already obese, you don't put them on a bulk, even for science. I disagree with it. I don't like it. You can say I'm a hater. I'm just telling you how I see it. His brother should be on a cut. Oh, but for science, they need to do the exact same thing. Does that make sense? If you had a man and a woman, would they need to eat the same amount of calories? 300-pound man, 100-pound woman, hey, for science, they're both going to eat 3,000 calories. That doesn't make sense.
At the 9-month mark, we'll do a third check-in. This will be the end of our recomp phase, where we'll try to build muscle and lose fat at the same time.
During the recomp phase, you're going to decide if you can build muscle and lose fat at the same time. He's just proven it in month 1. He put on over 12 pounds of muscle in month 1 while dropping close to 3% body fat. And so he built muscle and lost fat at the same time. And did so in spades. I've never seen anything like it.
Obviously, we're both eating the exact same calories and macros. 3,000 calories, 150 grams of protein, 410 grams of carbs, and 85 grams of fat per day.
Why 3,000? Just because it looks cool, is that the actual number that they should be eating? Jeff in month 1 has increased his body fat. He's already past 15%. Jeff is a bodybuilder. Bodybuilders, in my opinion, remember, it's just mine, I don't think they should be going above 15% body fat. If they do, it's a waste of time. Much better would have been for Jeff to not go on a bulk. Why not start at, say, 2750? Why not go there? And if by chance you're losing energy, you don't have the great pumps in the gym, you somehow are feeling weaker, then up the calories. But to arbitrarily start at 3,000 calories, it's too much. And for his brother, it's way too much. He's 36% body fat.
I should absolutely put him in a 5 to 20% caloric deficit and have him lose fat while building muscle. But I can't do that. If Brad's in a deficit while I'm in a surplus, that's an uncontrolled variable. And we need every variable to be the same except our training experience.
And so Jeff is acknowledging this. I should be putting my brother in a cut. And so I'm glad to see him say that. But he's saying for controlling the variables, he wants them to be on the exact same calorie diet. Just because you have the same amount of calories doesn't mean you're controlling the variables. I know it seems like you are, but being a researcher such as myself and with my master's in kinesiology, this is not controlling the variables. Controlling the same number of calories doesn't control the results. Consider this, you're not eating the exact same foods. One of you weighs more than the other. One of you needs more calories than the other. And you have different experience levels in the gym. What if Jeff has a sister? Would she also need to consume 3,000 calories? How is that controlling the variables? Why not control it like this? Both of you need to eat 15 calories per pound of body weight. Or perhaps 20 calories per pound of lean body weight and 2 calories per pound of fat. Would that not control for the variables? And would it not lead to more accurate results? Imagine if I were Jeff's brother. And so if I ate 3,000 calories and went through the exact same training program, I would probably lose 40 pounds during this process and lose almost all my muscle. 3,000 calories for me is a starvation diet. I require 4,000 calories to be at maintenance. And so, do you get it? You can't do an experiment 1v1 and say you're controlling all the variables. It sounds good. We want to believe that it's good, but it's just not enough. Now, if you had a sample size of 30, perhaps 100 individuals did the exact same thing, then by all means. But one-on-one, despite the fact that they're brothers, they both have very individual and unique needs.
And I didn't realize I ate so much fat. Every night it's like, I've run out of fat.
And so they're not eating the same diet. Both diets could have the same carbs, fat, and protein, but have completely different results. What if one's protein is all from soy, one from whey? What if one's carbs are all from sugar, while the other's from complex carbohydrates? One could be eating fresh, whole, organic foods, while the other all processed and have the exact same calories, macros, and so on, but yield completely different results.
It sounds like a lot of work, especially for someone new to tracking macros, but because we've been using my nutrition app Macro Factor, it's super easy. The app has a fast barcode scanner that quickly pulls up the macros, and it has multi-food plate logging to capture many foods at once.
And so if you are trying to go on a diet, of course you can get Jeff Nippard's Macro Factor app. Use code Jeff. You get 2 weeks for free. I do highly encourage you to use this app. It's going to make it much easier to know exactly what you're eating. With knowledge comes power. It's very important to understand exactly the calories that you're eating.
Supplements are a small part of this, but here's the list of supplements that we're both taking if you want to pause and read.
And so I paused it. I'm looking for it. I don't see Turk Builder Max. I don't see GO2 Max. I do see creatine. I see fish oil. I see ashwagandha. And I do see 200 milligrams of caffeine.
At the end of the 6-month bulk, Brad is up 13 pounds of lean mass, and his body fat percentage is down 1.2%. He went from 36.2% at the beginning to 35.0% now.
And so we're now at the 6-month check-in, and let's guess how much muscle Brad has put on. In the first month, it was 12.7. And after 6 months, the total, well, he's now up to 13. And so you're going to tell me that he put on 12.7 pounds of muscle in the first month and 0.3 in the next 5. And so can you see how it's so easy for scientists to manipulate the data? Imagine they cut off the experiment after 1 month, and let's imagine they were using Turk Builder Max. What would they have said? Turk Builder Max is more powerful than steroids. You don't believe me? He put on 12.7 pounds in a month. Well, what about the next 5 months? 0.3 pounds. And so let me ask you this question. Let's put on our thinking caps. I want you to be a scientist like Coach Greg. What do you think is more likely? That he put on 12.7 pounds of muscle in the first month and then 0.3 the next 5 months? He's got newbie gains. He made all of them in the first month. Or the DEXA scans wrong. What do you think? I most likely think that in the first month, he probably put on 3 pounds of muscle, maybe 4. The rest of that, probably water. Does that make sense? Perhaps he was more hydrated. He drank a bunch of water before the experiment, or perhaps on day 1, he weighed in and he was dehydrated, like Eddie Hall.
I'm just constantly dehydrated.
And so in the first month, perhaps he put on 3 pounds of muscle. The next month, maybe put on 2. Next month after that, 1 every month after that, maybe put on half a pound of muscle. Whatever. Does that not sound more likely than putting on 12 pounds of muscle the first month and then basically none after that?
And that's while eating 3,000 calories per day. It really goes to show the power of building muscle.
And so his body fat, it still ended up at 35% from 36.2. And so he's eating very close to maintenance. And so in my opinion, the first 6 months, it wasn't actually a bulk. If it was a bulk, why didn't his body fat go up? His body fat, it actually went down. When you're on a bulk, does your body fat usually go up or does it go down? Now, what about when you main gain? Your body fat stays roughly the same and you slowly put on muscle. What I believe just took place is Jeff's brother, he main gained for 6 months. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Remember, I would have preferred he went for a cut, but I don't think I can label this as a bulk. Despite the fact he was eating 3,000 calories for him, which is the same calories as Jeff, and Jeff was in a bulk, he's a larger man. And so for him, 3,000 calories, it's not bulking, it's main gaining. Y'all say main gaining doesn't work. He's put on 13 pounds of muscle while dropping his body fat by 1.2%.
And so I think a lot of Brad's initial gains were actually water gains from taking creatine for the first time.
And so what I do think happened is DEXA scans, they just suck. I said it.
Regardless, his 6-month trend shows impressive body recomposition, being up 13 pounds of lean mass while being down 1.2% body fat.
Honestly, this is stupendous. I thought in a year he would put on 12 pounds. He put on 13 in 6 months. Natural. This is an amazing transformation. Now, could it have been even better? I do believe so. I believe he could have lost even more body fat, but hey, if he wants a main gain for 6 months, by all means.
I added 4.5 pounds of lean mass. The thing was, I also gained, ready for this, 11 pounds of fat.
And so for Jeff, he put on 4.5 pounds of muscle in 6 months. That's a lot. But it came at a price. He also put on 11 pounds of fat. Now, If I were coaching Jeff, this is what I would have done. Jeff would have gained. Jeff was at a healthy body fat percentage to start, just over 15%. And so when you're at 15% body fat, you don't need to bulk and cut. You gain slowly. And so over the year, Jeff quite literally could have stayed at the exact same weight the entire time.
I'm kind of excited to cut down and see how much muscle I retain.
And so he could have started at 175, for example, and a year later, also been 175. But during that time, he would have lost, for example, let's say 3 pounds of fat and put on 3 pounds of muscle. What's wrong with that? That is gaining. Option B, he starts at 175 pounds, and let's say every 3 months he goes up 1. By the end of the year, he's 179 pounds, but he's added all muscle. His body fat is almost the same.
For the recomp phase, we're dropping our calories down to 2,800 calories per day, which MacroFactor says is our new maintenance intake. And these will be our new macros to follow for the next 3 months.
In a bulk, he adds 4.5 pounds of muscle and 11 pounds of fat at 3,000 calories. But now in a recomp, it's only down to 2,800. My personal opinion, it should be dropped even further. A 200 calorie drop, it's not nearly enough. If we're bulking up to that extent, why are we only cutting by 200 calories per day? I believe at minimum, he should be dropping 10% of his calories. That would be 300 down to 2,700. But remember, I wouldn't have had him bulk in the first place. If I were coaching Jeff, for example, to do a bodybuilding competition, I'd have him eating 2,750 calories to start. That is actually a lot more than almost all of the people that I'm currently coaching. And had he have done that, he likely would have put on almost the same amount of muscle and would never have had to go on that cut. And so where he's now cutting, he could have been continuing to gain.
It was time for our post-recomp check-in. Did I manage to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time, or did I just spin my wheels for the last 3 months? Let's find out.
Moment of truth.
Turns out, I actually lost 0.8 pounds of lean mass since our last check-in.
And so what are the results of him attempting to build muscle and lose fat at the same time? Well, by just cutting his calories by 200, he lost 1.5 pounds of muscle. From 3,000 to 2,800, while training harder than last time, he lost 1.5 pounds of muscle. Does anyone actually believe that? When you build muscle and you're natural, it's actually kind of hard to lose it. Unless you're on a drastic cut, you're doing crazy amounts of cardio, you're not suddenly losing all this muscle. And so I'm going to ask you, what do you think is most likely to have happened? Let's see if you can answer it. If you said the DEXA scan's probably wrong, bingo, you win. The DEXA scan, it easily can have this error. And so because Jeff was eating 200 calories less, it probably noticed he's not carrying as much water. Remember, for every 1 gram of carb, the body and muscle glycogen stores 3 grams of water. And so by cutting his calories even ever so slightly, the DEXA scan, it probably thought he lost muscle, but in actuality, he didn't. If being on a bulk is so amazing and you build all this extra muscle, but then just going on a mini cut, 200 calories less, results in muscle loss, what is the point of going on the bulk in the first place? Now remember, most people who go on a bulk, say it's 3,000 calories, they're going to cut on something like 2,000. Have we not seen both Sam Sulek and Chris Bumstead bulking on, say, 5,000 calories a day, only to end up cutting under 2,000? And so if Jeff's losing muscle by cutting 200 calories from his diet, imagine if you cut out 3,000 calories. Your muscle, it's going to disappear. Again, I'm speaking from experience. Gaining is the answer. And so if you're a bodybuilder and you're already above 15%, or heavens forbid you're obese, you're above 30% body fat, you don't need to bulk.
On the upside, I did lose 0.5 pound of fat, so my body fat percentage dropped ever so slightly.
And so think of it. He lost 1.5 pounds of muscle and lost 1/2 pound of fat. Was it worth it? Why bother with the 2,800? What did I say? You need to cut it by at least 10%. And so if you're eating 3,000 calories on a bulk and you want to make a significant difference, you probably should cut your calories a little bit more than just 200. 10% off 3,000 should have cut it to 2,700.
Brad's results were a bit better. He lost 3.5 pounds of fat, and this got his body fat percentage down to 33.8%. And that's despite not actually doing a fat loss phase yet. He did lose 0.7 pounds of lean mass since the last check-in.
And his brother, well, he also lost 0.7 pounds of muscle, and so it's not looking very good. Aside from the first month, where apparently he put on 12.7 pounds of muscle, since that time, he's actually regressed. I'm blaming it on the inaccuracies of the DEXA scan.
At every check-in, we've also been testing our muscle strength using this Biodex isokinetic dynamometer.
Pointless. 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 Isolateral dynamometer? I mean, that machine, it's so dependent on the mood that you're in. Are people screaming at you? Are you well rested from the night before? How bad do you want it? To force as hard as you friggin' can to set a PR. That is suboptimal. And not only that, when you're pushing this hard, this is going for a 1 rep max times 10. Do you know how easy it is to get hurt? I mean, this would be the same thing like saying, hey, we're going to test our 1 rep max in the gym. Hey, let's load it up, bounce the weight off our chest. Let's put on 400 pounds. Pec tear and you're done. But no, for scientific purposes, let's go for a 1 rep max on the isokinetic dynamometer.